Good morning. Aloha. Welcome to Just Talking 24, page 61. This morning, because I told you last week what I was going to talk about, it's about the little green men, the aliens. But you know me, I just kind of run right into something, right? I've got to give you a background. And I've been thinking about this for decades, really. Right? Don't we always, don't we always look up at the sky at night and go, "Gee, are we alone? You know, is it only us?" And then we see the movies, like my days, the day the Earth stood still, and Voyage to Mars and stuff like that, Forbidden Planet, and it starts your mind thinking, and then as you start going through life, you start learning about us, about humans, and think about it. And the only way we can grow as a species, okay, as a population, is we've got to learn. Okay, we have this what they call propensity or ability to learn, so they say, and this learning is we call it evolution. It's just a change. It's like how they thought back in the 1800s is different from the 1900s, which is different from today. As you see, our changing things. We're not given knowledge, but we are given hints. We are given the proof is out there. And that's what people ask me when I tell them, they ask me, "Hey, you think aliens are real?" And I go, "Yeah. Why, you think we live in this whole universe by ourselves?" And yet I don't get a definite answer of course, we are the only life, the life forms in this universe, which is terribly arrogant. Okay, and it shows. I mean, there is a multitude of differences. And, the proof is all around us. We just got to discover it. We just got to identify it, or we just got to accept it that that is the proof. And like I said, all of our knowledge, we're not born with all this knowledge. You know, you've got to learn it. And part of the learning is alien. And the ones that say the most, "Well, where's your proof?" The proof is right in front of you. You just got to accept it as the proof. Look at this world, okay? This world shows, number one thing, diversity. That means there are different things. There's only one animal? No, there are millions of animals, insects, life forms on just this little rock. Now, if you multiply that by the billions of, rocks out there, chances are, yeah, there are other places like Earth. There are. And that's one thing about man's arrogance. He thinks that unless you have a life form like his, you are not life. And life is just merely just existence, the operation of, an organism to survive. And you can survive in anything. I mean, one of the biggest lessons that I learned about life was from my friend who worked at a dairy, and his name was Malcolm, and he was a good brother, and he was the inseminator on a dairy farm. Now, if you understand that, in other words, the only way a cow can give milk, it has to have been pregnant, and you don't want so many bulls on your farm because, for one thing, they're very territorialish. For another thing, they cost a lot to keep. I mean, you got to keep feeding them and clean up after them. So his farm, I think, had something like 400, maybe 360 to 400 cows. And they had three bulls. And I mean, come on now. Three bulls for 360 cows. I mean, although I like the odds, physically kind of hard, you know what I mean, to keep them pregnant. And so what he would do is he'd impregnate them. he'd catch the ones that the bulls missed, so they just weren't in the mood or whatever. I don't know how that works, but anyway, what they had were these and I think they were plastic tubes, and they came in these for 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 the lack of a better description, giant fire extinguisher. You know those chrome fire extinguishers? Well, that's what the tankers look like. But what it is they're liquid nitrogen with a core in the middle, and these rods are in the core, and the sperm, little bit. I mean, just a shot of sperm, and that sperm was frozen on the bottom. And what you do is, when you go to inseminate, you take the rod out, you place it in what they call a warmer, and I think it just circulates room temperature water, and then it brings the sperm back to life, well, back to room temperature, and they come back to life. And then you go and you find they put these stick pads on the back of cows, and what the cows will do when they are in estrus, when they're passing of ovulating, they'll jump each other, because I guess that's just what cows do. I don't know, but the patches on the back will change color, and you go through the herd and you find the one with a different color, and you take that one out on the side, and you inseminate it. We used to go to the bars, and the girls would ask, oh, what do you do for a living? I tell them, well, I own a towing company. And when they ask my friend, I go, come on, let me tell him. And he goes, okay, you can tell him. And so I say he, screws cows. But I use the F word, right? I drop an F bomb. And I go, yeah, he blanks cows. And the first thing they do is glance at his crotch. Oh, I love that. Simple things for simple minds, okay? You guys know I'm simple. But anyway, the sperm comes back to life. It's frozen, and they do that in IVF, in vitro, fertilization, in vitro fertilization. They freeze your eggs, they freeze the sperm, and yet, but when they bring them back, when they bring them back to temperature, they come back to life. How is that possible? Easy. Life energy cannot be destroyed. That, to me, that's what it means. Life energy cannot be destroyed. And the energy just it just occupies a capsule. Our life, what we call life, is just energy, life's energy that we got from our mom and our dads, that enter our, that made our capsule, our bodies. And when we die, our life energy leaves, but it doesn't get destroyed. Like so many people believe, we move on, right? We go on. Well, aliens, the same thing. I mean, this life theory of mine is universal. You got all different types of, planets. You have all different types of lives. We only been around for what, 50,000 years or whatever. I don't know what man is. They don't even know how long man's been here. And we're not the original either. They're finding out that, hey, there might have been another civilization here before us, because who built the pyramids really? Wasn't the Egyptians. The pyramids are here already. They just took them over. But that's what I mean. The proof is right in front of your nose. You just gotta admit it and just, say, yeah, acknowledge that is the proof. But these scientists will not, because their life, especially the theoretical ones. You see, theory just means idea. To me, like a fairy tale. It's a story. It's their idea. Like what I'm telling you now. This is my theory, but I'm telling you why I think it. Okay? If I make sense, then, you can give it whatever weight you want. But this is my takeoff on aliens, and the aliens do exist. And so one of the questions that I get, because when I talk to people about it, they think I'm crazy, but they go, "Well, how come they haven't gotten in touch with us?" I said, "Because they are a different breed. They don't even communicate with us. They're so advanced. You know, I really feel that the human being was made by aliens and planted here. Really, they found a viable biosphere that can handle our species, and our species probably came from another land, another world. And they said, hey, maybe their species cannot survive here. Too much nitrogen, too much oxygen, whatever it is. Because our air, look at it, 75% nitrogen, 21% oxygen. That's 96%. The other 4% is everything else. You know, it's a very complex but very simple, makeup. Okay, it's primarily nitrogen. Now, what if what if um, uh, the life form cannot live? Maybe they need carbon dioxide. Maybe they need something that we have not discovered yet. We're constantly discovering. Man doesn't know everything, although the scientists love to think they do and they act like they do. See, that's the arrogance of man. But when you take away that arrogance, it opens up and you see. Okay, now these aliens I talk about, we've been only here how many thousands of years? That means we were placed here. And then there were other civilizations here before us, like I told you. They're finding out that, hey, the pyramids were here before man. By what we say man is our form of man. There might have been another form of man, we don't know. Okay? But that means we've had a start. How did we start? We crawled out of the ponds. We crawled out of the swamps. No, ho, ho. We were placed there, folks. I mean, that's my acceptance. We were placed here, and we were, like I told you, my 5 breeds: red, white, yellow, brown, and black. You look at the world: red in the Americas, white, Northern Europe, Eurasia, yellow, Eastern Asia, brown, Middle East, North Africa, black, Africa, and the Pacific Islands. The world is still pretty much like that today. Even though our advances in transportation, communication, everything, we still stay within our own. Which is good, which is kind of good because that's how I got the theory that I got. You look at the world and that's how the world is. Okay, now that's proof. It's right there. I accept it as the proof. What? You think it was just coincidence? I believe in coincidence, but yet I believe it in the proof. See, I believe in balance. You guys know that, right? Okay, so you get coincidence, which is just luck of the draw, and then you get plan. It's a mixture of both. Our this whole universe is a mixture, is a balance. Everything is in balance. The world, the earth is on a 23.5 degree tilt. It's on a balance. How does it stay there without flipping over? Scientists say, oh, but it has. When? When? That's their theory again. Okay? But because they got all the toilet paper on the walls, we believe their theory. And I stopped believing in the theory and I look at what the world shows me. The proof is out there. You just gotta look at it. And then you take it from there, and that is not the truth. Even though you see the proof, that's just a piece of the puzzle. And you got to understand that. That is not the whole story, but that's a piece. And then you look for another piece, and another piece, and another piece, and you may never put the puzzle together, but the half of the fun is trying because it works this the gray matter between my ears, or so they say. I don't know. I'm still asking them, when I do my MRI or my CAT scan on my head, what you guys found? Oh, nothing. And then, like I told you, colonoscopy. I told my GI doctor, man, you find any brain material up there, you leave it alone. He said he hasn't found it, but we haven't found my coins. When they say that, I was so scared that I shed quarters, and we haven't found. Some guys think that their feces don't stink. Yeah, so they haven't found flowers, they haven't found semi-precious metal, they haven't found coins, and they haven't found brains up there. Just a weird, weird shaped tube. So okay, so my brain's not there, and my abdominal scans have become negative. My legs have become negative. I know I have one. I just gotta find it. Okay, but until then, I just go with the gray matter in between my brains, between my ears, and but that's my take on the aliens. And the proof is out there, folks. You just gotta accept it as proof. And once you do that, you be amazed at how beautiful this world is. I look at the mountain now, and there are so many different shades of green. And my eyesight is getting, as you get older, your eyesight kind of fades, right? But yeah, and you understand that. Like we used to go diving, and you have all different types of seaweed, or we call limo, all different types of seaweed, and you know which ones you can get to eat, which ones what certain fish eat. So if you see that particular seaweed, you know what kind of fish is around. Things like that. That's the things you learn. You learn these from like my grandfather and my uncle because they used to go diving. But you learn them. Okay, you're not born with this knowledge. And if man thinks that we are alone in this universe, he's sadly mistaken. And that's why I said the proof is all around us. And the reason why they haven't gotten in touch with us is because we're basically lab rats. They put us here, they're watching us. Now people ask, well, how is that possible? I said, well, think about it. What if, okay, these aliens have the ability to transverse the universe? Okay, our scientists are saying the speed of light is the fastest you can go. And I said, no, it's speed of light plus one. Right? You remember that? I love you times infinity. Well, I love it, infinity plus one, always like that. Well, it's the same thing. There is no real limit. The limit is only how fast the thing can go. We have to use, internal combustion motors. Well, not internal, combustion fuel to provide a thrust so we can move. That's what we do. Okay. And then you see Star Trek with the impulse power and stuff like that, which was back then, it was fantasy back then, but they're coming up with it. Look at the trains in Japan. They're using magnetics, and the train is moving faster than the other bullet trains by the use of magnetics. We used to use fire to cook our meat, and then came oven, electricity, and then microwave, and then air, and then induction, plates. You know, we constantly change, we constantly improve, so we don't know the max. So don't say that there isn't. Don't be absolute like that. But these scientists, they just say there is no aliens. There are. And the reason why they won't get in touch with us because they can't. We're too primitive. It's like if you have a lab and you're studying rats. Can you talk to the rats? No, you can only observe their actions, right? Same thing. They observe our actions and they can't communicate with us. They don't want to communicate with us. They we we speak on such a primitive they can't think that primitive, okay? They're far beyond it. And we don't want to accept that. We think we the best. We think we the cat's meow. We the top of the heap. No, we're not. Even as animals, okay? I'm a human being. No weapons. No weapons. Just what he has. His speed, his strength, everything. You think he could survive on this in this world? That's the only thing that separates us from the animals, folks, is the weapons and our ability to control, to beat them with weapons. But you go against some bear with nothing except maybe a rock, you ain't gonna make it unless you get a whole bunch of you guys together. And that's how we got together. We're a social animal, and we went against solitary predators, and that's how we won out. But one for one, man is very weak as an animal, very fragile, and we don't accept that. Man thinks he's so it, and the older you get, I don't know if that's maturity, but yeah, the S on the chest doesn't stand for Superman. It stands for stupid man. It's stupid to think things that we did. Well, look at the kids today, right? And the things that they're doing, and they're dying. Why? Oops. Can't go 120 miles an hour and lose control and go into a wall and expect to walk away. It doesn't work like that. But that's, the kids go stupid. Unless they do it, like Evil Knievel. Eventually, yeah, it's going to catch up with you. But these are guys that just want, I don't know if they have a need for the attention, or they have a need for the rush of, the rush of the trick or whatever their performance. But it's a need for them. And the daredevils, the stuntmen, hats off to them. Thank you for doing it, but it doesn't work, folks. But yeah, there are aliens, and that's why I said there are aliens, and the proof is there. And even if you had the proof, what would you do with it? Really, people have asked me, "Where's your proof?" I give them the proof. I said, "Now, what you gonna do about it, huh?" Yeah, what you gonna do with the proof? You wanted the proof. I gave you the proof. So what you gonna do with it? How you gonna take it and make it better? What, you wanted the proof just for you? Well, go out and go get it. The proof is out there. You've got to find it. You've got to learn to see it. It's like when we go diving and looking for octopus. I don't have the eye to see octopus in 4 feet of water. But when my vision was better, was when I was 2015, I could see octopus in 30 feet of water. That's the way I was, and I could just go down, and even if this, the what we call them he'e, even if the he'e was only like 2 pounds, I see it. I go down there, and then I poke him, and I see how small he was, and I come up. And my friend would know, like I would go diving, and we'd go outside of the reef, and I'd only catch 2 or 3 because I was taught you only take what you need. But those 2 or 3 ones are 4 or 5 pounders. They're worth something. If you want to dry them, you got enough to dry. You want to make stew, what we call squid luau. You got plenty of meat. I didn't get bait size squid. Some guys on the inside, they'll take the little 1 and 2 pounders, but I was taught no, you let them grow up. And but I can't see them in 4 feet of water, and yet my grandfather would walk along the shore with a squid box, and there's just a box with a plate glass underneath that you just look into. You stay dry, and you have your spear, and you walk. When you see them, you poke, 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 you catch them. They go, and that's what's called squidding. But you learn that. You learn it, and I didn't want to learn it because I wanted the big ones. And how you get the big ones, you go deep, deeper. Like in Italy, they have these. It's a sled with 2 pins that come up, two prongs, and they put a shell on top of there, and they drag it, and the squid sees that, and he goes on it. They feel the ground, and they pull, and the 2 prongs stick into the squid, and they pull it up. That's how they catch squid. And it's very effective. The squids, they like the shells, they love shellfish. But you got to learn that. You got to accept, you got to learn. And that's the thing about aliens. You got to learn. And I'm not saying I got all the answers, but just acknowledging that they do exist, that starts you. And so that if one does come in front of you, you're not going to freak out. Well, you're going a little bit, but not that much. But yeah, you're gonna freak out a little bit, but then you're gonna say hi, you know, welcome to Earth, and don't expect them to understand the language and what words are coming out of your mouth. Gesture, open hand. To me, I think is an international. It's a universal sign of I am not armed. I mean you no harm. Now you don't have to do Mr. Spock. Live long and prosper. No, you don't have to do that. Just an open hand and a smile. Hi. And if they see that as a danger or as an attack, then you're vaporized. So don't worry about it. They got stuff that'll kill you. Like you're not gonna feel it. But yeah, they do exist, and they have made us. They made us. We are an engineered species. You look at us. You look at our dispersion. You look at the way we all function as one species, but yet we're all different. Yeah, just like the world. You know, one life. Well, not one life form, but it's all life, and it's all different. Well, we're all life, and we're all different, but we are one species, and we're here on this rock, whether we like it or not, and we cannot live on any other rock in our solar system. Now we may find other rocks otherwhere, in other places, but we can't get to them yet. Yet there's always, Elon Musk, man, he wants to get to Mars. Well, just because we still got to use that kind of fuel. There's another energy out there. We just haven't discovered it yet. Man thought fire was really great. In fact, he's still using it for the fuel, right? You put oxygen and the fuel together, and you create heat, and that creates expansion and creates thrust, and yeah, okay. And we still in the primitive stage. There are other forms of energy. Look at the sun. It gives us ultraviolet energy. We just haven't harnessed. We're starting to harness it to make electricity. Okay, well that's a start, but there are so many other doors to open. There are so many other paths to walk. Why stick with one? Always look, always open. Keep the maca open. You learn with this, you learn with this, and learn with this sometimes, and this. Okay, but everything learns in here. Use it. You don't learn with this. Although I'm trying to teach you with it, I just want to lay the seeds. I just want to plant the seeds and think about it. Okay, just think about what I said. And next week, I don't know what's going to go on next week. This past week was good. I watched the State of the Union address, and this is the first time I actually enjoyed it. You know, before when I've watched the State of the Union address, once they start talking, all you hear is blah 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 blah. You know, but Donald Trump, a little bit different. He called the guys out, man. You should be ashamed of yourself, and the stories that he brought out. That 100-year-old pilot, the captain, that sergeant major, that was excuse me, chief warrant officer, the helicopter pilot. Their stories are great. The little girl that wasn't supposed to live, and look at her, she's doing good. I mean, it touched me, and he might have done it, okay. And they said, oh, he did it just for just for sympathy. I don't care. Thing is, he brought it to the surface. He showed you his human side, and I think he's human. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder, yeah, maybe he's the alien. Men in Black, right? But anyway, have a wonderful week. Um, March is right around the corner. Well, in fact, it's gonna be March 2nd when you see this, and so spring's right around the corner. Happy spring to you. Get those rabbits out so they can lay the eggs. Yep, them colored eggs, yeah, that are hard boiled. Amazing, these rabbits. You have a good one. Have a good week. Be safe. Love each other. Try and learn. Open your eyes. You can see stuff, and don't be afraid. Okay, don't be afraid. be brave. Okay? Until then, ahui ho, malama pono, and always from me to you, aloha. Bye bye. Love you. Like, subscribe, tell your friends. You know the drill. And send me comments, please. Anything. You can say you're a dumbass. I don't care. Show me that you're out there. Love you. Aloha.